By the way, Tippett and Lundell got the assists on that Bennett goal. So 10 Panthers on the score sheet. Here's Tippett, and he scores! Owen Tippett's had some terrific chances, and he gets one there. And the high-flying Panthers put up 6.
Welcome to Project Panthers, a weekly podcast discussing your Florida Panthers. Now, here's your host, Brunswick.
What a week, what a week, what a week. I am your host, Brunswick. The show is Project Panthers, and baby, what a week it's been in Panther territory. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, that means you found us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other major podcast platform out there on the World Wide Web by searching Project Panthers. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Project Panthers, that's P-R-O-J Panthers, on Instagram at Project Panthers Pod, and on Facebook by searching Project Panthers. Now, before I get started into the usual spiel, I just gotta get something. I gotta get something off my chest. I really, really am dying to get this off my chest. There's been a lot of rumors going around the Panthers, if you haven't been paying attention, especially from some hockey quote unquote insiders that indicate the Panthers are in on Jacob Chychrun, defenseman on the Arizona Coyotes. He's 23 years old. He's got some term at an affordable rate that people believe is an affordable rate. I think he's making $4.5 million. Not too steep for a top 4 defenseman, possibly potential to play top 2 minutes. I don't know, but the rumored asking price is Anton Lundell and Spencer Knight, as well as another draft pick. That's what we've kind of been seeing going around. Some have reported just Lundell or Knight. Others have reported both. And that's what Arizona is asking for. Now, I have a lot of faith in GM Bill Zio. I really do. So this upcoming rant may not be completely warranted, but for anyone who is even considering this deal as an option for this team, I just have to say my part because I just do not understand the hype around this guy. And personally, I think he is one of the most overvalued trade deadline options in recent memory, with the rumor of demand that Arizona has for him and what they're asking other teams of. I don't get it. Chychrun had one good season, one above average season, I'd say, because he hasn't been poor, so I wouldn't say he's had bad seasons, but one above average season, and that was last year. He's been a pretty decent 0.5 point per game defenseman for most of his career. This is the first year he isn't playing very protected minutes. He's had multiple seasons where he starts 60% or more of his starts are in they take place in the offensive zone, meaning that he's taking face-off in the offensive zone almost 2/3 of the time compared to playing back hemmed in his own zone and having to push the play back up ice to get the puck out of your zone. And this year is the first year he's not really playing those minutes, and he's sitting at a pretty low -30 on the season. No one else on the Coyotes is even close. And yes, he does play big minutes against big lines on a really bad Coyotes team. They're not a good team. We know this. But to have that much disparity, the rest of the Coyotes' top 4 also averages 20 minutes a night, just like he does. Yeah, he's number 1, but they're not far behind. That's Gostisbehere, Strawman. The rest of the top 4 have a combined plus-minus of only -14. And they're playing almost just as much as he is. Now, I know plus-minus doesn't mean everything, so I'm not going to put too much emphasis on it, even though it sounds like I kind of am. But he doesn't exactly throw the body around a ton. He's not a physical player, and he doesn't block a lot of shots. This team needs a defensive stalwart to play with Ekblad, not a liability or a guy who has a high ceiling and might be something that he isn't right now, one day, especially if he costs someone like Lundell, who, in my opinion, is already a better NHLer than Chychrun likely ever will be in his entire NHL career. Since Chychrun was drafted, everyone has ranted and raved about this kid's analytics, including right now. If you go on Twitter, he's an analytics darling. But he plays protected minutes. He has been playing protected minutes for most of his NHL career. He's 4th on the Coyotes currently for time on ice shorthanded. He's not even trusted enough defensively to get that ice time on one of the worst rosters ever assembled in NHL history on paper. Guess who averages 30 seconds of shorthanded time on ice more per game as a rookie? I'll give you a hint. His name rhymes with Shamtom Bundell. On top of everything, he's never even played a full season in the NHL, often missing time due to a recurring knee injury that has been bothering him throughout his career. So I don't personally understand what people see in this. I don't think Zito will make this trade, but if he does, it's going to be a big loss for this team. I don't personally even want Chychrun on this squad because I don't think he's what the Panthers need right now. They need a guy who can shore up the defense, play back, let Ekblad do his thing, never even cross the red line. Dude, don't even cross the red line. You know? We need a guy who scored 1 goal in his last 15 seasons. He has 8 shots on net over his entire NHL career in 800 games played. Just a guy who will sit in front of the net and play defense. We don't need a guy to score more goals. We have plenty of guys who score goals. And losing Lundell, based on what these insiders are saying, come on. It's insanity. A 1-2 punch of Lundell and Barkov down the middle, that makes you dangerous for a decade. All right. Rant is over. Moving on. Before we get started, this week's episode is a really special one to me. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of Project Panthers and me posting the first ever episode on this date last year. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to all of those who have been here since day one or have since joined the Project Panthers parade along the way. I do this solely for my love of the game of hockey and my love of the team, the Florida Panthers. So please know that your support, whether it's from listening to the show, chiming in on my tweets, commenting on YouTube or Reddit or whatever it is, and just overall general support, please know that it is greatly appreciated and it fuels me every day to keep the show going. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, honestly. Now, the record of the Panthers, the Florida Panthers, they're in first place. First place in the NHL. Not too shabby. I know. Maybe I should sound happier being in first place. Maybe I've been spoiled with this team lately. Their record is 28-9-5 right now. And after the annual Canadian West Coast road swing and a quick stop in Seattle, they're still on the road, but they've been battling to improve a very mediocre road record after all those dominant performances on home ice. The Cats need to find consistency on the road if they want to be successful in the playoffs, so let's see how that road trip went. First game of the Western road trip saw the Panthers visiting the Calgary Flames, a team they beat 6-2 just 2 weeks prior. Few changes for the Panthers as Mason Marchment gets back into the lineup with Maxim Mamin going back to the press box. Spencer Knight also getting his first start since December 30th. Sir Samuel of House Bennett and Ryan Lomberg, the Lamborghini, they're returning to Calgary for the first time since leaving the home of the Stampede. And speaking of former players, former Panther Jacob Markstrom in net for the Flames in this one. Just a few minutes into the game, Carter Verhaeghe takes a tripping penalty, and 20 seconds into the power play, the Flames, they win a face-off. They get a couple of open shots on Spencer Knight, and Rasmus Andersson one-times his own rebound over Knight's shoulder for the early 1-0 lead for the Flames. This is yet another goal against the Panthers off a face-off play. I'm just going to continue to talk about these on the show because they keep happening. The Panthers are simply not getting the matchups they want out there for the face-offs because they're on the road, and they have to change first. They have to put their players out there before the Flames can put their players out there. With the Flames getting to see who the Panthers are throwing out there, they can immediately match up whoever they want on the face-off. However they want. Whatever they want to do, it's their choice. This is a clear advantage that's been working for the opposition for the last 3 straight road games. Dallas scored like this, Carolina scored like this, and now the Flames have scored in similar fashion. What more can I say? Halfway through the first, Flames add to their lead as they make a series of poor plays with the puck in their own zone. The puck bounces around and eventually finds itself on Blake Coleman's stick. He buries it home for his 7th of the season, and the Panthers, after some broken play, miscommunication, not really any certainty with that puck, they're suddenly down 2-0 for the first time in over a month. Flames, they get a power play to boot just after the goal. Aaron Ekblad gets the best chance on it, though, shorthanded. Markstrom makes a save that keeps the lead at 2. After one period, the Panthers, they got some work to do despite leading in scoring chances and puck possession. They are down 2 goals. Cats, they get a power play right at the start of the second period with some great puck movement. They just can't do enough to connect on a goal. Flames get out of it despite being completely dominated on the power play. Cats, nothing to show for it. Flames keep pushing, trying to add to their lead. Knight makes a great save on a one-timer from Matthew Tkachuk, and then a few minutes later, the Flames get a scramble in front that Knight makes a couple of big pad saves on to keep the score where it is. Spencer Knight really doing his best to give the boys an opportunity to turn this game around in any way he can. You know this Panthers group, though. They don't give up. They really don't. And with a bit of mishmash of the lines, due to some odd timing with shift changes, Verhaeghe, he finds himself out there with Bennett and Marchment. Verhaeghe takes his patented rip and wrist shot and pings one right off the goalpost. But the rebound that comes up to Marchment, he just can't put it in, but he makes the heads-up play to get the no-look pass in front of the net to Sir Samuel of House Bennett. He is there to score his 16th goal of the season against his former team in the former barn he played in, and kind of got his, feet under him as an NHLer. You know that feels great for him. And now the Panthers are right back in it, down just one with plenty of time to go. The Cats, they look awakened after this goal. They get a couple of chances, including a nice look for Uyghur that he shoots over the net. Then Vetrano, he takes a neutral zone cross penalty, and, well, wouldn't you know it, the Flames, they win the faceoff, and right off the draw, they wrist it from the point. The puck deflects in off a defender, past Spencer Knight, 3-1 Flames. I mean, this is way too concerning of a trend at this point. What else can I say about these faceoffs? This is 2 goals in this game now. We saw 2 goals in Dallas off the faceoff, 2 goals in Calgary. It's really frustrating to watch. It really is, because teams are clearly taking advantage of it and utilizing it. But, they got to adjust. And with the teams exchanging goals in the second period, the deficit remains at 2 for the Cats going into the third. Flames are doing a really good job of blocking shots up to this point, doubling up on the Panthers in the category and clogging up passing lanes, preventing the Panthers from playing the game, the wide open game that they like. I'd say they were getting really outcoached right now in this game. First good chance of that third period, it goes to the Cats when Sam Bennett tries a wrap around that. Huberdeau also tries to stuff home, but marks him. He keeps his pad tight against the post. He makes the save. Panthers are continuing to get their chances, but not converting. And the Flames, they come back with an awkward play that Lindholm throws off of Tkachuk's shin pad. He gets a stick on it in a pretty heads-up deflection play. It was very quick, and if you see the initial replay, it kind of looks like it goes off his shin pad, but on the second replay, you can tell that Tkachuk makes a really heads-up play to deflect the puck in. Gets past Spencer Knight. It's a 4-1 lead. Just one of those nights for the Panthers, it seems. Cats, they kind of completely stopped skating after this one. Flames, they get a 2-on-1 that Sean Monahan finishes for his second of the game. Becomes a 5-1 lead for the Flames. And at this point, I just really feel for Spencer Knight. The kid needs confidence to build this game up, and the team, they came out with an absolute stinker in front of him. Really disappointed in this group after the crazy homestand they had. It really felt like this team was out-coached in this one. Strategies kind of come into play more when you're on the road. As I mentioned earlier, you can't control matchups as well, so your strategies have to be tight. We heard Daryl Sutter's comments after the Flames lost in Sunrise. I mentioned it on this podcast about how Florida is a team that doesn't stop, and you have to come ready for them. Well, they came ready. That staff came prepared for this game, and it showed. Pretty frustrating, but not a good showing for the coaching staff. Andrew Burnett admitted in the post-game comments that he did not come prepared for this game, so I give him props for at least admitting to that, because it's not an easy thing to admit in the post-game conference of a game you got shellacked 5-1. It is what it is. Panthers, they start the road trip on a terrible note. They sit tied for the third worst record in the league in terms of road wins. Still only 5 on the year. The 4-game winning streak and 9-game point streaks, they both come to an end with this loss. Calgary won an overwhelming 66.7% of the faceoffs in this game. And, I mean, like I said earlier, 2 of those goals were a direct result of that. So, tough one for the Cats to swallow here. Panthers back in action 2 nights later as they headed north from Calgary to the unseasonably warm Edmonton to face a struggling Oilers squad. Edmonton, they were one of the best teams in the league right out of the gate, right there with the Panthers. But since that hot start, they've completely cooled off, having gone 2-6-2 in their last 10 games and lost 6 straight going into this one. They also haven't had a chance to play too much because of all the COVID postponements, so they aren't exactly getting a lot of consistent opportunities to work out those kinks. So I do feel for them as a team. I do. Doesn't mean the Panthers can't try and get the win, though. The day before this game, we found out that defenseman Gustav Forsling was placed into the NHL's COVID protocol list, so meaning that he'll be missing the next couple of games. In his place steps Lucas Carlson, Matt Kierstead also factoring back into the lineup with Oli Uolevi going back on the IR. His injury re-aggravated again. Matt Kierstead actually had to fly from Charlotte to Toronto, spend the night in Toronto, and then fly to Edmonton the following day and played later that night in this game. So props to Kierstead for going through all that and getting there on time. Also, Patty Hornquist, he never returned to the game after getting hurt in the second period back in Calgary, so he's out for this one. Maxim Mammon getting back into the lineup against the Oil, and Frank Vetrano also back in the press box as Owen Tippett, fresh off a 2-game stint down in Calgary where he got 4 assists with the Checkers, down in Charlotte with the Checkers. So he gets a chance to get himself back into the groove in this one. Sergei Bobrovsky also back in net for the Panthers as Edmonton goes to Mikko Koskinen to try and turn their woes around. You know the Panthers, they were expecting the Oilers to come out with fire under their asses in this one, and boy did they ever. The Oilers, they were flying to start this one, really stressing the offense and pushing hard up ice every single time they had the puck. Particularly, they were attacking the bottom pairing for the Panthers. They were really focused on going hard at the 2 young defensemen the Panthers trotted out there in this one. Montour takes a slashing call 9 minutes into the first period, and on that power, the Oilers do just about everything but score. And it's been highlighted in the talks about Edmonton's struggles how they aren't necessarily playing bad hockey, just not finishing. And yeah, we saw a lot more of that in this one. At one point, the shots were 14-3 in favor of the Oilers. They did not score on that power play, but it was probably one of the most dominant periods against the Panthers all season. But Bobrovsky making the big bucks, does a great job of making saves, key saves. But the Oilers they also whiffed on a couple of gimmies, a couple of open nets. Like I said, just not finishing. So some of it was Bob and some of it was the Oilers. But the game remained scoreless after one. Cats, they did get a power play in the first, but they failed to even get a shot, as the total for the shot period ends at 17-7 in favor of Edmonton. The second period starts a little differently. Panthers seem to have found their legs a bit when the Oilers still pressing former Panther legend Coulter Sevier takes a cross-checking penalty after a bit of a questionable hit on Matt Kierstead in the corner. Luckily, didn't result in any injury for the young kid, so anything further than that is a bit of chatter after the whistle. No injury, just some guys talking. No fists thrown. Very civil. Well done, gentlemen. The Panthers, though, they do take advantage of that call. Sam Reinhart, he finds Barkov cross ice with a gorgeous saucer pass that floats over the Oiler defender, lands just in front of Barkov's stick. This was such a greasy saucer pass from Reinhart. Again, I have talked about his playmaking skills not being advertised enough when he was acquired by the Panthers. This guy can pass the friggin' puck. Barkov one-times that pass, gets past Koskinen, his 16th goal of the season, tied for the team lead. Huberdeau gets the secondary assist on the goal, sitting at 39 for the season, first in the entire league in that category. What else can I say? This was a beautiful goal, textbook power play goal. Great start for the Cats on that one, 1-0 lead. The Cats, they weren't done there, though. This time 5-on-5, Reinhart makes it happen again. Makes a pass behind the Oilers' net, takes the pass behind the Oilers' net, fakes the move around the goal. He finds Verhaeghe back on the far side of the front of the net. Cardi V, he's got plenty of time to wind up that disgusting hole zinger of a shot he's got. He whips it past Koskinen for his 14th goal of the season. Reinhart and Uyghur with the assist, and despite the poor effort for most of this one, the Panthers somehow find themselves up 2 goals midway through this game. Reinhart continues his hot streak now with 22 points in his last 16 games played. Pretty incredible turnaround after a bit of a slow start with him with his new team. And I say slow start. He didn't exactly go pointless for 15 games, but he wasn't a point per game player, and he's exceeding those numbers right now. Great stuff from Reinhart, really coming through as a secondary scoring option for the Cats. Uyghur, he takes an interference call, but the Panthers, they managed to kill it off without too much trouble, and just a minute after killing off that penalty, Anthony Duclair takes a puck in the Oilers zone, and after missing his opportunity, he takes some contact from Darnell Nurse and falls shoulder first into the end boards. Duclair immediately went to the dressing room favoring that left side, but the Panthers faithful breathe a collective sigh of relief just moments later as Duke returns to the bench, ready to get back on the ice. Guess he's all right, and moments later, Owen Tippett rings one off the post on a 2-on-1, still snake-bitten, can't buy a goal right now. Regardless, Panthers hang tight after some late pressure by the Oilers in the second period, And we go to the third with the Cats up 2-0. Oilers, they come out strong again in the third period, not relenting from their game plan, pressuring the Cats constantly. Darnell Nurse hits a goalpost early in the stanza, but they just keep going. Bob standing on his head to keep this game at a 2-0 lead. Shots are 35-19 for the Oilers when Barkov takes a Gudis pass in the neutral zone. He makes some space for himself in the Oilers zone and zips a seeing eye wrister that goes right by Koskinen for his second goal of the night, 17th goal of the season. The Panthers are up 3-0 in a game they really should have no business leading, let alone being up by a field goal. Cats, they get a late power play when Duncan Keith takes his second minor of the period. That Panthers power play, with all the confidence it has, they get it done again as Barkov sends a shot towards the net, bounces over to Duclair. He backhands it wide into the wide open net for his 17th goal of the season, tying Barkov for the team lead. And not long after that, the Oilers, they take another penalty. This time an interference call against Bobrovsky, just careless contact against the goaltender. It's like they weren't even paying attention. I don't know. The Oilers just fell apart in this third period. Really just the body language changed after that third goal, just completely caved in on themselves. 1:14 after that penalty is called. 1:14 after Duclair's power play goal, Sam Bennett walks in. He finishes the chance, backhands it as well. His 17th goal of the season. So now Barkov, Duclair, and Bennett all with goals in this one to sit tied at a three-way tie for the team lead in goals at 17. And not long after that, Owen Tippett plays a pretty little game of give and go with Max and Mammon in the corner. He one-times a pass in the slot from Mammon and scores his 5th goal of the year, his first goal in 16 games for Tippett. His last was on November 20th. Great to see Tips get that goal when he gets back into the lineup after a short stint in the AHL. Finally back on the score sheet. He had a goal and an assist in this one. Lundell with a very quiet 2 assists in the third period. Panthers close this one out with a 6-0 victory despite being dominated for a good chunk of this one. The Cats got it done when they counted the most. Good teams win games like this, and that's what the Panthers are. Bob, he gets the shutout, and that's Sergei Bobrovsky's first shutout of the season. Only his second as a Florida Panther. His last was November 2nd, 2019 against the Detroit Red Wings, so well over 2 years. A 97-game gap between shutouts. The second longest shutout-less streak of his career. Bob went 99 games before he had his first career shutout in the NHL, so missed that mark by just 2 games. Regardless, an amazing performance from him by making 40 saves to preserve the goose egg. Panthers get back in the win column after a disappointing performance in Calgary. And by the way, despite the win, another rough night on the face-off for the Panthers, losing 59.1% of their draws. Thankfully, the Oilers have no finish right now, as I talked about earlier. They could not take advantage of the extra puck possession despite dominating shots 40-28. Cats get out of Edmonton with the huge 6-0 victory. And with that, we've made it to the halfway point of the season. Game 41 of the year for the Panthers was in Vancouver to take on a withered Canucks group, missing a ton of key players due to COVID protocols, including both goaltenders Jarro Halak and Thatcher Demko, and number 1 and 2 centers Bo Horvat and JT Miller. Andrew Burnett electing to go with almost the same lineup as the 6-0 win the night before in Edmonton, with the only exceptions being Sam Bennett sitting out with a minor injury, getting replaced by Jumbo Joe Thornton, and Spencer Knight getting the nod to start this one, going up against another Spencer Martin, making his 4th career NHL start, and first since all the way back in February of 2017. Another AHL goalie asked to step up to the big leagues in relief of goaltenders that cannot play due to illnesses or whatever. We've seen a few of them this season, but as Lions showed us over in Carolina earlier this month, it's not always cakewalk against these guys. Some of them come ready to play, and they want to make the most of an opportunity. You never know when you're going to get a hot streak, and you might get a contract out of it. Who knows? Spencer Knight also looking to bounce back after a tough game in Calgary on Tuesday night, so hoping to see a lot. I was hoping to see a lot from him in this one. Luosterainen starts the game on the second line with Bennett out. Bruno choosing to keep the third line of Lundell, Mammon, and Tippett together after they showed some pretty good chemistry in Edmonton. So Starboy, he gets the chance between Huberdeau and Duclair. He's been having a surprisingly good offensive season. Slowed down a little bit over the last month or so, but he's got some decent numbers. So the coaching staff giving him a chance to start in this one and build on those numbers. So hoping to see a bit from Starboy in this one as well. Cats, they get the first couple of decent chances, nothing too high danger, but Martin makes some good saves on Carlson and Montour to keep the game scoreless about 5 minutes in. Knight does him even better, though, as the Panthers, they get sloppy at their own blue line, and Niels Hoglander takes a pass behind the D, but Knight stretches out real nicely and makes a big right pad save on the Swedish sophomore. Period gets really choppy around the middle mark. Lots of face-offs, stoppages in play, no real flow for the Panthers to build some momentum, so this style is definitely working in the Canucks' favor at this point. They do try their best to generate something coming out of the neutral zone, and as a result, Huberdeau draws the first penalty of the game, giving the red-hot Panthers power play a chance to strike early. Cats, they do get some good chances on that man advantage, but Martin, he stands tall and makes some huge saves to kill the minor penalty, and in turn, right after the penalty, Owen Tippett, he takes a neutral zone penalty. The hockey gods giveth, the hockey gods taketh away, and the Panthers, they get a power play of their own, and the Canucks, they waste no time on this one. The moment they get the puck to the center of the ice, Quinn Hughes lets a rip from the point. The puck deflects twice, once off of Tanner Pearson's stick and then off of Chychrun's jersey / hip / maybe his butt. And past Spencer Knight gives the Canucks the 1-0 lead, despite that only being their fourth shot of the game. So Cats had a pretty good start on paper, but doesn't matter. That goal is all that matters. And that wakes Vancouver up, and they continue to pepper Knight, and they step up their game big time to finish off the first period. But the Cats hold on, and the score remains 1-0 after 20 minutes. The second period has a similar flow to the first. Not a lot of high-quality chances either way. Just a lot of stale play in the neutral zone, one and done in the offensive zone from both teams. Props to the Canucks, though. I gotta say, they're playing their game plan, and it's working. Lucas Carlson, he takes a cross-checking penalty to give the Canucks their second power play of the game. They ring one off the post just a few seconds into the man advantage off of a face-off opportunity, but thankfully, again, a face-off opportunity, but thankfully the Panthers, they don't get any closer than that. Canucks completely clogging up the middle of the ice in this game. Panthers don't seem to know how to adjust. I don't see any real game plan to go wide, spread the ice out a bit, make them stretch the Canucks a bit, create some open space. Sort of Panthers just kind of hitting their head against the wall, hoping that at some point the Canucks will make a mistake and break down, but they are using their perimeter well. They are, and any effort to move the puck into the center of the ice from the Panthers is stifled immediately thanks to the Canucks and their active sticks in their own zone and in the neutral zone. At this point, if I'm interim head coach Andrew Brunette, I got to make some changes, and that's what he does. It's what he does. Props to him. He changes the lines up. He puts Hubie and Barkey together, and then he drops Duclair. With Hubie and Barkey with Duclair, then moves Lindell up to the center slot with Verhaeghe and Reinhart moving Starboy back down to the third line. And suddenly, this wakes the team up. Guys are moving their feet a lot more, generating some chances, just not really hitting the net with their shots. Maybe they got a little bit of infection from the Oilers on Thursday. Plenty of good looks, including Reinhart and Lomberg, both getting quality shots that they shank wide. Radko Gudas takes his own penalty in his own zone after these opportunities, gets caught a bit out of position and gets called for holding. Gudas visibly frustrated in the penalty box as he was interfered with not long before this play and no call. Refs were a bit weird in this one. Again, I try not to talk about officiating too much because the NHL season is long and things balance themselves out over the course of it. So I try not to put emphasis, but the refs were weird in this one, calling some things, not calling other things. It looked like they were completely burying their whistles in the first period, and then just weird moments of suddenly calling something that I had seen multiple times already in the game. I don't think they had any bias. They were just not very consistent throughout the night. Cats, they do get out of it though unscathed, but still struggling to score goals. Carter Verhaeghe, he does everything he can to try and get a goal, but he gets stopped on his patented streak into the zone and rip one top cheese wrist shot. And after 40 minutes of play, the game remains still 1-0 with Spencer Martin putting up a hell of a game in this one, keeping the Canucks in the lead at 1-0. Nice little story for Martin developing in this one, but not the kind of story the Panthers want to hear. Cats get an early power play to start the third period. They're buzzing on it from the get-go. About a minute into it, DeClaire takes it on the far side, and with some space, he throws it in front, and Reinhart makes a quick play to get a stick on it, and the hometown boy ties it up for the Panthers in front of his family in Vancouver. Huberdeau gets the assist, his 40th of the season. Canucks wake up a bit after that goal and get a few chances themselves. The added pressure results in the Cats taking another penalty. This time it's Aaron Ekblad guilty of the slash. That is good for a trip to the sin bin. The best chance of the power play goes to Brock Besser, but Spencer Knight recovers perfectly after some nifty puck movement from the Canucks to make the big save. Panthers get the best of their chances down the stretch, but it's a combination of good positioning from Spencer Knight and the Cats shooting it right into his equipment almost every time. It's one of those games where stale, dry hockey, we're off to overtime. And the Cats, they do get a valuable point in the standings, but they need more. With that point, they move into first place in the NHL, but you know they want that extra point. They put out probably one of the most dominant overtime periods I've ever seen in terms of puck possession. Now, I have to keep that phrase in there, in terms of puck possession. It did not lead to much in terms of chances, though. At one point, the Cats had the Canucks pinned down in their own zone for almost 3 straight minutes. They managed to get 3 full line changes in while the Canucks were hemmed in their own zone. And they had no goals to show for it. Nothing. A lot of passing, a lot of indecision, afraid to make a mistake, afraid to commit too much. I understand. You don't want to get caught, because if you make a mistake or a pass gets intercepted, it's a lot harder to go the other way when you're going hard one way. So I get it. But I would like to see a little bit more urgency from the Panthers trying to get a goal with that much puck possession and the Canucks players being pinned down for so long. You got to take advantage of that fatigue. They looked dead tired out there, like completely exhausted. Juho Lammikko, former Panther, was out there. At one point, he couldn't even skate. He was just sort of coasting around, waving his stick. I don't blame him. That's a long time to push your body at its limits. But the Panthers didn't take advantage, so we are off to a shootout. Brock Besser scores first, followed by a Huberdeau miss. Spencer Knight then stops Elias Pettersson, and Anton Lundell makes a filthy move to the backhand to tie it up. Oh, what a beautiful goal. The poise, the calmness from this kid. My God, insane. Knight then stops Quinn Hughes on his attempt before El Capitan Alexander Barkov. He does his patented one-handed backhand move, beats Martin, wins it for the Cats in the shootout. This goal was so beautiful. I don't know how Barkov does it. If you ever played hockey before, it is so hard. I've tried this goal. I've tried to do this before. I need to rephrase that. I've not tried this goal because A, I would never ever try it in game because I don't want to make myself look like an idiot. B, I'd never tried it on a goalie because I'm not going to waste a goalie's time trying to make a shot like that. So I've tried this shot against the boards by myself, just fooling around, dicking around. It's extremely hard to lift the puck off the ice. Like, I can kind of just nudge it lightly, ever so gently. But Barkov gets speed on it and lift. That's... His wrists have to be insanely strong to pull something like that off. I'm telling you. But this is a huge win for the Panthers. This is the first win of the season on the road when the opposition scores first. They were 0-3-3 in this one, going into this one with that stat category. Big, resilient win for the Cats despite the back-to-back. They found the energy to get it done in the shootout, and they willed their way to victory. Also, a much better game on the draws for the Panthers. They actually won 50.9% of their faceoffs, but methinks that had a lot more to do with the Canucks missing their top 2 centers in Bo Horvat and JT Miller, who both of which have faceoff percentages closer to 60% than to 50%. So it might be something on the Cats, but it's likely more just because the Canucks didn't have a lot of experienced faceoff guys out there. It's all right. The Canucks, though, they played a hell of a game. Canucks, and I got to give a shout out to Spencer Martin. He was first star in this game. He kept the Canucks in it. He really did in that third period. And as I said after the game against them a couple of weeks ago, Bruce Boudreau, he's really got this team playing much, much better hockey. They had their style, they had their strategy in this game, and they stuck to it, and they almost pulled off the victory. A significantly improved team up in Vancouver. But just about 150 miles south of Vancouver, a new NHL team has started playing, the Seattle Kraken. In their first year of expansion, Panthers in Seattle to take on the Kraken for their very first game ever in the home of the Space Needle. Cats looking to build on their tenacious victory over the Canucks on Friday in their final game of the week. Seattle is 2-7-1 in their last 10 games played. They really struggle to score goals, and they don't have a lot going for them right now. You know, I was perplexed by Seattle choosing to go with Ron Francis as their first ever general manager. Francis is notoriously conservative and risk-averse. I know it's unfair to compare them to Vegas. As Vegas, they joined at a special time and got a special situation handed to them on a platter. A lot of teams were cooperating with them, but I think some of that was also Vegas pushing to do those types of deals. I don't really see anything exciting for the Kraken, though, on the horizon. I'm not trying to be too bleak about the team, but I don't feel like there's a lot of prospects, both literal and just, generically using that word. They seem to have just a kind of whatever team, a bunch of middle of the pack players, not really any stars. Jordan Eberle, maybe. Francis, he didn't really make any deals to secure any extra draft picks like the Coyotes did in the offseason, so they're not exactly geared up to stock up on young players and prospects moving forward. I don't know what the move is here. They're not trying to win now. They don't seem to be trying to win in the next few years. I really just want to see the sport grow, but if Seattle is treading water for their first 5 years, it's going to be hard to build a fan base as loyal as the Vegas group that has already become. Because, as Panthers fans know better than a lot of teams in this league, winning gets fans in the seats, right? And we've seen what happens with teams when they struggle out of the gate. Look at the Thrashers, right? They were terrible for so long until they were moved. Made the playoffs once in their history. No one wants to see that. I digress. Andrew Burnett, he goes back to Bobrovsky for this game after getting the off night on Friday. So Bob back in net. Seattle throws out Philip Grubauer, who signed a pretty big deal in the offseason with the Kraken. Was the marquee signing for this team, but he is not living up to that contract at all. So the Cats will be looking to pounce on his struggles. Other than that, not a lot of changes for the Cats in the lineup besides Frankie Vetrano slotting back in for Maxim Mammon and Sam Bennett coming back into the lineup after missing Friday's game, replacing Jumbo Joe Thornton. This game, it started wide open. Both teams exchanging quality opportunities just a couple minutes into this game, with Seattle actually hitting the goalpost inches away from taking a very early lead. But the Cats, they counter not long after when Huberdeau, he gains the zone with the puck, makes a cross-ice pass to Anthony Duclair, who throws the puck on net. Sam Bennett, he does what he does best in front, causes chaos. The puck bounces in off the Duclair shot for the 1-0 Panthers lead. Duke gets credit for it, his 18th goal of the season. This puts him first place on the team again, just 6 goals away from a new career high for the Duke. Hell of a season for him so far. Really, I can't say enough good things about Duke right now. But after that goal, it was Seattle's turn to dictate play. They upped the pressure big time. They started throwing the puck around, started throwing the body around. They're throwing every puck they can at Bobrovsky. It seems that their strategy is kind of just get pucks in front while putting as many bodies between the puck and Bob to restrict his visibility as much as possible. Bob has struggled with this, and he's not the best at tracking pucks when they're deflected. So it's an interesting and potentially effective strategy from the expansion Kraken and their head coach Dave Haxtell. On top of that game plan, Seattle is sending numbers up ice, getting a couple of odd man rushes that they just can't quite connect on. This is up-tempo play from Seattle, and it leads to some obvious obstruction penalties from the Panthers. You kind of expect that to come when the team's skating at you as hard as Seattle was in this first period. Both Bennett and Ekblad take turns going to the box, but Panthers, they managed to kill off both. And they actually got a couple of chances on the second one. Some odd man rushes, but they failed to connect. The game stays 1-0 after the first period, with Seattle sitting at a surprising 13-8 shot advantage after 20. Second period starts with Cardi V coming out of the locker room with some purpose, but Grubauer flashes a glove not once but twice in the same shift to rob Verhaeghe of his 15th marker of the season. Only a few minutes later, the Kraken get a great chance of their own with Jordan Eberle getting behind the defense, but he hits another goalpost to keep the score still at 1-0. The Kraken, they keep pressing though. They gain the zone easily. The Cats, they totally back off, losing their man coverage. That leaves Marcus Johansson wide open to one-time a pass over Bobrovsky's glove to tie the game at 1. Cats really struggling to handle the Seattle team, seeing similar problems for them that we saw earlier in the season when the Kraken handed the Panthers one of their league low 8 regulation losses back in November. It's kind of the similar game happening in this one. Suffocating defense, kind of just playing a boring game, but still pushing up ice to create chances for themselves. This Kraken team, despite not the most talented on paper, can still play some pretty decent hockey. And at this stage, I'd like to see Brunette make some adjustments. It's clear that Seattle is just going to keep sticking to that game plan, and the Panthers are not finding success with their strategic selections. So, much like the Calgary game, I am looking for Brunette and his staff to try and change their game around. And hopefully they find more success than they did in that Flames game, because that did not end well. Minute and 40 seconds after the goal is scored, the Kraken get a couple more penalty calls in their favor, and they find themselves on an extended 5-on-3 man advantage that the Panthers actually managed to get out of thanks to some active sticks and a couple of great saves from Bob Luosterainen. Made a great play deflecting a puck in front that could have been a pretty easy goal. So nice little defensive play by him. Not long after the penalties expire, though, Seattle keeps the pressure up. Panthers, they can't get control and regroup after the penalties do expire. Yanni Gourde, he hammers home a slapper from the point for his 9th goal of the season. It's 2 goals in less than 5 minutes. And suddenly the Panthers are down 2-1. And just seconds later, a scramble in front has a very fortuitous bounce for the Kraken off of Blackwell's head. It rolls past Bobrovsky for the 3-1 lead. Panthers in absolute shambles, completely falling apart in the first half of the second period, not responding to Seattle's level of play, and they are down 2 goals all of the sudden. But the Cats, they do finally draw a penalty of their own after 4 straight power plays going the Kraken way, and this red-hot Panthers power play stays red-hot. Huberdeau steps right into a wrister from the point. He finds the spot over Grubauer's shoulder. Reinhart doing a great job in front on this goal, causing problems for the Kraken. Goalie never saw the shot coming. Now 3-2 game. 13 power play goals for the Panthers over their last 12 games. That's the second best power play over the last few weeks during that span. Less than 2 minutes later, Huberdeau, he continues to will this team back into this game. This time he makes a no-look pass to Barkov in the slot. His shot gets deflected and floats over Grubauer's head for a little bit of a lucky bounce of their own. It goes in. The game is tied at 3s. This was just a filthy-ass play from Huberdeau. I posted a screenshot of Huberdeau not even looking in Barkov's direction before completing the perfect pass on our Twitter. So if you have not seen that, go to @Project Panthers. Check that out. Just a thing of beauty. That's Huberdeau's 3rd point of the night, barely halfway through the game. What an effort from him already. And not long after that, they find themselves on another power play. Almost full 2 minutes of sustained pressure by the Panthers with the man advantage. Barkov and Huberdeau holding court, playing with the Seattle defenders. But Grubauer, to his credit, steps up, makes some great saves, and he keeps the game tied to get his team out of the PK situation. A couple minutes later, Radko Gudas and Yanni Gourde, old friend Yanni Gourde from Tampa Bay Lightning. We all love to hate him for years. Gourde, he maybe bit off a bit more than he could chew in this one as they exchange some fisticuffs. Radko gets the best of it, I would say, but the refs quickly step in to save Gourde from things getting a little worse, and the fans give both boys a big hand for their efforts. A goal-filled second period ends tied at 3 with Seattle still holding the edge in shots, 22-20. The Kraken waste no time to start the third period. Just 26 seconds into this one, Weegar cheats a bit to the right side on the Kraken entering the Panther zone. That leaves just enough white ice for Mason Appleton to take a pass and get one past Bobrovsky to restore the Kraken lead. There's more weak defensive coverage from the Cats, really struggling with coverage in their own zone in this game. Barkov and Bennett, they officially switched spots on their lines, with Brunette putting the 2 big boys back together again, looking for some third period magic on the road once again, looking for a comeback. But Panthers, they're just not finding that same jump as we saw in the Vancouver game halfway through. They kind of, turned the corner and changed their style, ramped up their play. The urgency just isn't there in this game, and Seattle just kind of continues to stifle their chances and clear the zone as quickly as the Panthers enter sometimes. Seattle is one of the worst third period teams in the NHL, and Panthers are actually one of the league's best. But you wouldn't know it from watching this game, as Seattle is just lulling the Panthers to sleep while still managing to generate some quality chances of their own. Bob hasn't exactly had an easy night in this one. The Panthers, they don't really make enough adjustments, and that falls right into Seattle's game plan. They don't turn it up until late in the third period when Bobrovsky's already out of the net. They busted their asses pretty hard with the extra man. They do just about everything they can on the ice, but they do not score. Eventually, Mackenzie Weegar mishandles a puck. Calle Jarnkrok, he ices the game with the empty netter. It's a 5-3 Seattle final. The Kraken win both games against the Panthers this season, so the Cats will have to wait until next year to get their first franchise win over Seattle. This is a really poor game for the Panthers overall in this one. Other than a burst of offense in the second period, they were flat all night. They didn't adjust to Seattle's game plan whatsoever. Brunette's only ace up his sleeve was once again putting Hubi and Barkov together, but on this night, it didn't turn out to be some magical savior that he was hoping for. This game serves as a nice little bookend for the week, to be honest. I really felt like the Panthers were outcoached in Calgary on Tuesday, and they were outcoached again in this game against Seattle on Sunday night. I saw very little adjustments beyond line shuffling from the coaching staff, and I'm not sure if they're expecting Barkov and Huberdeau to bail them out every single game that gets into this kind of situation, but I did not see, I didn't see them try anything, to be honest. I didn't see them try anything. They did the bare minimum from their perspective, and the results speak for themselves. At least the Panthers won over 56% of their faceoffs in this game, so they got that going for them, which is nice. That's the show for this week, though. I have been your host, Brunswick. Thank you once again for tuning into the latest installment of Project Panthers. The Panthers, they're still on the road for one more game in Winnipeg on Tuesday, then back home in Sunrise to face the Vegas Golden Knights on Thursday. I am definitely looking forward to this week, looking for some better performances. 3 of this week's 4 games were lackluster defensively, to say the least. We likely would have had a 4th had Vancouver not been missing some key players in that game. Offensively, they continue to be one of the most dynamic teams in the league, but defensively, they leave much to be desired. I want to see them continue to work on some systems, maybe try a couple of different defensive strategies. I'd like to see something from Brunette and his group with this, and in terms of what they wanted this defensive core to do, because it ain't working right now on the road. It's not. I know I sound crazy crying about the defensive play of the first place team in the NHL, but again, I stress, they haven't won a playoff series since 1996. Defensive play is king in the playoffs, and they need to work those kinks out long before the postseason comes along if they want to finally find success in their quest for Lord Stanley's Cup. Also, I'm hoping for some dubs this week. Lots of dubs. Give me dubs. More dubs. I want all the dubs. I love dubs. I know you love dubs too. So give me some wins and I'll be happy. Thanks again for listening to Project Panthers. I am Brunswick. Have a week.